Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, December 15th, 2021, closing up 2021. Hopefully, we find you today in good spirits, in good health, and everybody's looking forward to wrapping up this new year as today wrapping up this year, 2021. Which for some has been tumultuous and ups and downs with trials and tribulations and silver linings and all kinds of stuff. So I'm Baltimore. Hi. So we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. I went through and I chose throughout the year some of my favorite quotes, the picture quotes that we all get from people that we sometimes love and sometimes get on our nerves. But I chose some of my favorites that others also liked. And, um, and I'm just going to be having a conversation with you guys as we close up the year and as we look forward to ringing in the new year. And just doing some reflection on this past year. And so happy Wellness Wednesday, of course. Um, Susan, if you're watching, happy Wellness Wednesday. I took that from her. Happy holidays to everybody. I know this can be a stressful time. It can also be a great time. It's allegedly the most wonderful time of the year, right? Um, and I personally love the holiday season. And what I don't love, I will tell you though, is the whole online shopping thing because I ordered gift bags that were supposed to be like this big, and they were actually like this big. So we got to be very careful, right, when we're ordering. But happy holidays to you, whichever holiday that is that you do celebrate in December. Um, I know there's quite a few of them out there, and I hope you have a great time. So as far as check-in, take a deep breath, ask yourself how you're doing today. That's something I like to remind everybody is checking in with yourself. If you're on a team, checking in with your teammates. If you're going into a meeting, try and take just a couple minutes just to do a brief check-in. They can be one-word answers. Even if you're with your family, it's a great you want to check in, you know, or just, hey, let's check in. I wanted to check in with you. And you'd be amazed at how sometimes it can bring you closer, or maybe you're not aware that somebody's going through something, or maybe they have something they want to share that's really happy. I was reminded last week that, many of us out there are maybe not as vocal, and maybe there are some people who are more introverted who do want to share, but kind of have to be called on. You know, so if you do a check-in, maybe go through each person and ask them how they're doing and ask for some input. But so this is the first one that I chose, and they're not in any relevant order of what I thought was most important. Again, they were just ones that I thought that everybody could kind of, gravitate towards. But for 2021, release and detach from every person, every circumstance, every condition, and every situation that no longer serves a divine purpose in your life. All things have a season, and all seasons must come to an end. Choose a new season filled with purposeful thoughts and activities. So when I think of this, I think of intent and actually having an intent to release and detach from persons, places, things, conditions that don't serve a purpose that maybe they did before. We're constantly evolving, right? And we constantly change and grow better, hopefully, learn along as we go. And it's okay to release, from person, places, things, and detach and move forward, as needed. That's totally okay. And in the spirit of rap, this is why you may have many RAPs, RAP plans, wellness recovery action plans, in your lifetime or even in a couple of years because things change so quickly. If you want to be happy, set a goal that commands your thoughts, liberates your energy, and inspires your hopes by Andrew Carnegie. So I know for me that setting a goal that commands my thoughts, liberates my energy, and inspires my hopes helps me to look forward to the future. You know, one of the things I like to ask people is, what's one thing you look forward to today? And I like to ask myself the same thing. What is one thing? You know, you don't need to come up with a list of, 200 things that you are grateful for every day or that you want to do every day. But ask yourself, what's one thing that you're grateful for? What's a goal that was within the realm of possibility that's feasible for you? And again, that liberates your energy, inspires your hopes, makes you feel good as a person. Um, the next one was one of my favorites, ways to improve your mental wellness. Now, I always say that you are the expert on yourself. So when it comes to even number one, 8 hours of sleep, I have friends who are fine with 4 hours of sleep, others that may need nine or 10. So of course that's going to be, dependent on whatever works for you. You know, I can tell you that 5 years ago I was fine with 6 hours of sleep, and now I need 8 hours of sleep to feel really rejuvenated, and so that could be evolving too for you, or ever changing, and it's one of the many facets of our health that can change. And number two, eating a healthy diet, focusing rich in omega-3 fatty acids. Three, keeping yourself active. Um, Number four, interacting with others. Conversation stimulates the brain. I think this is a really, really huge one. I often say that if we think back to hundreds of years ago, I don't believe that we as human beings were meant to be alone. We're meant to be by ourselves. Um, Even over on Kings Canyon and Cedar, where there tends to be a lot of stray dogs, I used to think it was so beautiful when I would see five or six of them all together crossing the street, and I would think that's how we should be as humans, as kind of with a little posse, of people, and it's healthy, right, to interact with others, and again, going back to, a couple slides ago, um, it's healthy when you're around healthy people and you surround yourself with healthy people. So that's really important. Picking up a new skill or hobby, I know for me that's a difficult one when people ask me, like, well, what are your hobbies? I'm like, taking a nap, meditating. Uh, so I guess part of that is discovering, right? What hobbies we can incorporate into our lives. Um, Number six, playing games to help work out your mind. So there's another word for this, which is diversionary activities. If you have anxiety, depression, panic attacks, or maybe going through something. And I learned about these quite a few years ago, but diversionary activities. And there's tons of them if you Google them. It could be art, it could be playing cards, it could be writing poetry, writing in your journal, but playing games to help work out your mind, and maybe get some of that other stuff that you're thinking about, putting it to the back of your brain, and having a little fun doing playing some games, or and if at any time there's anything you guys want to put in the chat, that are examples of what you guys do, please do. Number seven, I love this one. Love, love, love is doing something for others. Again, in the spirit of rap, and the part where it says, what do I look like when I'm well? So for Baltimore, I'm a really giving person, and when I'm well, I'm very giving of my time, and I like to do little things for people. And when I'm maybe not so well, I'm so busy maybe in my head, and perhaps doing so much self-talk that I just don't have the energy, to do that. But when I am well, like I said, I love to do stuff for others, and even if I don't feel well, sometimes I'll force myself to. just to try to get into that space of giving and feeling better, because it makes me feel good. So number 8, managing stress. Make lists, check them off as you go. Seeing problems as opportunities can help reduce stress. Ideally, right? And managing stress, yes, making lists, checking them off as we go, seeing problems as opportunities can help reduce stress. I think a huge part of that too is also realizing and understanding and reckoning with ourselves what is within our control. I know personally I have a checklist of things to do, and there's 3 things on there where I'm waiting on other people to get their end done, and it's just out of my control. And this is not work related, but it's out of my control, and I have to let go. Um, Number 9, avoid cigarettes, alcohol, and drugs. That's up to you. I will never tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I'm just reading off of this. If you are a smoker or drink alcohol, I hope you don't use drugs. That's not a really good self-caring tool. Laughter is the best medicine. So for me personally, when things are going well, I laugh a lot. I love to laugh. Um, Again, when we think back to rap, maybe when things are breaking down or when things are not going so well, um, I maybe don't laugh so much, right? And you can ask yourself, what is it that happens when you're maybe not doing so well that you do less of, But laughter is, right, great medicine, and it's easy to forget about one's own mental wellness with how busy life can be. It's easy to forget about one's own mental wellness with how busy life can be. Now, there's truth to that, right? And then there is the fact that we need to do it with intent. You'll hear me use the word intent a lot because we need to be able to intentionally make sure that we don't forget about our own mental wellness. You see behind me staff wellness on my screen. That's a huge thing, huge one of my passions. And Brian, I noticed that you said we had something in the chat. I I don't know where to see the chat. I'm sorry. That I can or that anybody can. That's a good question that I think we should ask others that are watching and maybe come back with some suggestions of what physical activities. When I was a little more physically active, I know, I went to the gym every day, and but I know that there's really good bike trails around. I've heard that there are really great bike trails in Clovis. Um, so yeah, I think that would be a question as far as, unless Brian, you know of any specific answers to that? Yeah, definitely we can get back to that. So the next one, the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another, by William James. So let me tell you the reason I picked this one was for a bit of a selfish reason, is because those of you who do know my story and know that I have a panic disorder, um, and I've lived with it, and I've done fine. And it did rear its ugly head a couple of months ago after a surgery I had. And I started doing a lot of research, which I had many years ago, but a ton of research on panic attacks, just in general, listening to psychologists, psychiatrists from other countries, and it was interesting that they said they all have the same message about panic disorders and agoraphobia and anxiety attacks, panic attacks, which was that it's one of the hardest things to go through, yet it's the easiest to treat. It is the easiest to treat. And when I heard that, the first doctor say that, I thought, that's interesting. Um, so as I started watching other doctors and started listening, and I saw that it was a common theme they kept saying, because what they kept saying and what their message was that it all had to do with our thoughts, which is what made it the easiest to treat, yet the hardest to go through because it's so uncomfortable, right? For those of you who haven't experienced it, if you think you're going to die, you think you're going to have a heart attack. And it all just comes down to the fact that it's coming from your thoughts, um, which is part of the treatment, the cognitive behavioral part of the treatment. And so that's why I chose that one. It sounds so simple, right? Even if we're having a really bad day, if we're seeing something in a really negative light, that we ultimately have um, a choice on how we respond to it. I think that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of us, that, like, wow, I have that much power. But the reality is, when you listen to gurus and psychiatrists and doctors who've studied our brain, we actually do have that power. And I think something else came through chat. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I believe I saw that. Nola. Hi, Nola. Shout out to Nola. Yes, I know that I don't live too far from Manchester, and you used to see people do that all the time, go into the malls. So thank you for that. That's a really good suggestion. I thought I would share this. So for 2021, this was May 7th. I write poetry. And I don't often share all of my poetry, but I had been asked to share this particular one. Um, I'm pretty sure I shared it. I didn't go back, um, but I had shared it with some staff. But so I'm going to read it to you real quick. So this is written by me, and it's called Why. Why? Sometimes we feel overwhelmed and we don't know why. There's not always a reason. Sometimes we want to curl up and cry. It could just be the season. Sometimes we don't want to talk to anyone and live in some silence for a bit. Take a break, take some time. It doesn't mean you've quit. Sometimes people get on our last nerve and we want everyone to go away. There doesn't always have to be a reason. It could just be one of those days. Sometimes I feel worthless and question my purpose in being. I have to stop myself and remind myself that I don't have to listen to that inner voice. It's mean. Sometimes we don't want to answer our phone. Don't make it about you. It's not always personal. Everybody needs some time alone. Why do I feel this way? Why today? Why do I feel as though I need healing? We don't have to have an answer. Life is life. Embrace it. Do something about it. Relax. It could just be a momentary feeling. Don't give up. Keep moving on. You can do this. I got your back. We've all heard them say. Take some time to relax, reflect, and recoup. You only have to answer to yourself at the end of the day. Live in love. This means so much to me. All of my poems do, but this means so much to me in my journey in learning that I don't have to people please for everybody. I don't have to answer every phone call. And when I don't feel well and I'm trying to take care of myself, I don't have to take care of everybody else's life problems. Um, I can focus on me and not feel guilty about it. And then I think most importantly in my journey, what I've also had to learn is, just because I may feel horrendous, in one moment, doesn't mean that half an hour later, I could feel totally different. It doesn't dictate the whole day. It doesn't mean it's going to last 24 hours. I can sit in the discomfort. I can journal. I can do a self-well tool. Maybe it will last all day. I don't know. Um, But what I have to be careful of is, and I know this is old school, the stinking thinking, but is that, oh my God, what's going on? This is going to last forever. That really chaotic, dramatic thinking. And, and I'll say that my doctor and my psychologist have really helped me with that and going, stop worrying about next week. Stay in today. Um, so yeah, so that was one of the reasons you hear that in there about momentary feeling. This was another lesson, that I still have to remind myself. Your body hears everything your mind says. Stay positive. Your body hears everything your mind says. So think about that for a second. Your body hears everything your mind says. And we know that being tired, having headaches, having stomach aches, having diarrhea, they can all be symptoms of depression, of stress. So we do know that our body is affected, right, by stress and depression, anxiety, panic, um, whatever it is. Maybe you just had an argument with somebody. We know that your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes up. Um, so I think whether we like it or not, we need to remember that our body is very sensitive to what our mind says, right? And what our mind is thinking. And I believe it's Nola who is on right now who has repeated that just because your mind thinks it doesn't mean you have to believe it. You can correct me, Nola, if I have that wrong, but I believe that's what it is that just because your mind thinks it doesn't mean you have to believe it. Um, and there's another one that I like too. If you continue to think what you've always thought, you'll continue to get what you've always got. So I have to remind myself of that as well, that sometimes when I want to be in control and I want to be in the driver's seat constantly of life, that sometimes I do have to surrender and listen to others, because when I had perhaps done it 100% my way, maybe the outcome wasn't what I wanted. Um, and we have to be open to learning, right? And listening to others and listening to, what others might have as far as suggestions. Maybe they've gone through something similar. There's just so much wisdom out there, right? That if we listen, you know, um, and I think what's important too when I say that is that it doesn't always have to be a psychiatrist, psychologist, a doctor. Um, it could be the homeless person, that you run across that you're talking to outside of a market. It could be the checker at the grocery store. It could be anybody. I think it's just a matter of allowing our minds to be open to hearing, and really paying attention with intent um, to people. I don't know about you guys, but I do know that it can be difficult, finding people who actually listen, and that's okay. That's when we find our clips that people who do. Um, you don't have to believe everything you think, Nola says. Okay, so you don't have to believe everything you think. That's it. Thank you, Nola. One of my very, very, very favorites. I remind myself, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Cribbed from Voltaire, a 20-minute walk that I do is better than the 4-mile run that I don't do. The imperfect book that gets published is better than the perfect book that never leaves my computer. The dinner party of takeout Chinese food is better than the elegant dinner that I never host. And as a person who tends to be a black and white thinker, this is something that I too, it's always part of my journey is it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And I'll have to tell myself that, Baltimore, just because you can't do such and such doesn't mean that you can't do anything at all. And I think this can sometimes get in the way of giving ourselves credit for something, right? Um, Being appreciative of what we can do. And a coworker that I used to have used to say, if you want to guarantee feeling like crap, compare yourself to others. Um, And I think there's so much truth to that. You know, he would say, compare yourself to others. If you want to feel like crap, keep doing it, Baltimore. Keep comparing yourself to others that have more education than you. That it was a scolding that he gave me, and it was a much needed one because it was done in a very loving way. And I've always remembered that, you know, that when I start to compare, well, this person, you know, has is doing this, and I should push myself, you know, and yes, I think it's great to aspire to people that we look up to, and we can have heroes, and those can even be friends or family. But I think it's important when we start to feel bad because we're not measuring, you know, to where they're at. Then I think it's time to take a look at ourselves, and you know, and look at the saying. So we talked about the body. This is your mind will always believe everything you tell it. Feed it hope. Feed it. I love that because I'm a huge believer of feeding your mind. Um, Whatever that means to you, finding what's interesting to you. It's going to be different for all of us, right? For some people, it could be rock climbing, it could be whatever, it could be art. And for others, it could be doing a crossword puzzle. There are no wrong answers. It's just about feeding your mind and getting something in there. Like I said, when I started educating myself more on my panic disorder and just doing a ton of reading and watching videos and TED Talks, and it's exactly what I intentionally was trying to do, was to feed my mind, so that it would give me hope, and it did, you know, it did. And then finally, today is your day to let go things that no longer serve you. Today is your day to let go things that no longer serve you. And I know that the very first one that I started with is similar to this. Um, I do think it's important that we do take inventory and stock of our lives every once in a while. And, you know, even if that's cleaning the house, you know, that's not necessarily about people. But even if you're trying to clean your house, and Marie Kondo, um, with, oh God, what is that called? Tidy Up. I used to watch that show. But letting go of the things that no longer serve you so that you can make room for other things to come in, right? I know that feng shui, that's a big part of feng shui, you know, is that you make room so that more good can come into your life. And as someone who tends to be on the pack rat side, um, and kind of have a little too much emotional bonding to things. Um, you know, I've worked really hard on that in the past few years of, okay, I don't need this, I can give it away. You know, I don't need that, I can give it away. I don't know about you guys, but I can really get sensory overload, and that will include my surroundings. Like what you see in front of you, oh my God, it's just ideal. And I'll tell you, it's interesting because you know, I used to want to be a therapist and work with couples because I thought the divorce rate was way too high, which I still think it's way too high. And that used to be one of the things I wanted to do. And one of the things I would suggest to my friends when they were thinking of divorce or separating used to be, go out into nature, leave your cell phone in your car, sit out there for a few hours and imagine your life without that other person, and just think in silence, you know. And if it's something you still want to do, you know, then you've made the right decision. But don't make a rash decision based on what others think or what others feel. But I think it's important that sometimes, even though it's uncomfortable for us to be in silence and it's uncomfortable for us to be out there by ourselves, and it can be a really good thing. Maybe not for everybody, you know, but it's something that I've learned. So again, wishing you all a happy holiday. Um, I do want to say thank you to Brian Bishop for everything he's done this year to keep these webinars going. And I'm looking forward to next year and seeing how we can bring new stuff to you guys and more, maybe possibly more interactive ways of getting together with everybody. I know that soon we'll be back in person, you know, we'll be back in person doing training, stuff like that for rap and other stuff. Um, but this has really been a lot of fun, you know, doing these throughout the year and something that I've looked forward to. And I would say the greatest part has been all the feedback that I get from a lot of people who maybe aren't comfortable talking to a therapist or going to their supervisor to talk about something, you know, and have entrusted, you know, in me to reach out and as a peer. Um, so please have a blessed holiday. Be safe. Send any ideas, any suggestions, anything you would like for next year. And have a happy 2021 and have a blessed Wellness Wednesday for the rest of the day. And please eat and be merry and try to be as guilt-free as you can as you enjoy these happy times coming up. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being with us in 2021, and thank you for being with us today. So until next time, bye-bye.